podcast, he basically confirming that the United States is preparing itself for a new round of war. And here is what J.D. Vance said.
I think what the president has told us to do is use this MOU to sort of refill the world's oil economy, to refill some stocks, and then to see where the hand is.
Yeah, this is basically what he said. Yesterday, we've learned from Wall Street Journal that Donald Trump was briefed on all-out war against Iran again. And when it comes to the numbers, I think you're one of the most informed analysts in this field. When it comes to the reality of the battlefield, where are we right now, considering the two sides, if they decide to get back to the war?
Well, I think the perhaps one of the most critical facts that I am going to talk about today is the fact that the air defense systems, in particular Patriot, and certainly Iron Dome is the same, have no capability. I want to underscore no capability to deal with Iranian ballistic missiles, which is a primary threat. So if the Iranians go back to a war of retaliation with ballistic missiles, there is nothing the United States and Israel can do to stop the ballistic missile attacks. This is a very powerful statement I'm making, and I think it's extremely important that the audience, and incidentally, that American political decision makers understand this point. What has been falsely stated has been repeatedly is that the intercept rate of Patriot is 90% or higher. This is absolutely untrue, and what I'm going to show is that this is not only absolutely untrue, but I'm going to show actual data that proves this. So this is a very important podcast for those who really want to understand what the defensive capabilities of the United States and Israel are against an escalated exchange where the Iranians unload their ballistic missiles on Persian Gulf and Israeli targets. So in effect, what I'll show, and I'll use numbers here, that rather than a near 90% or over 90% intercept rate, and I want to underscore that I'm going to be showing the data here, instead of a greater than 90% intercept rate, Patriot has an intercept rate of 2 or 3%. Now, this is just as shocking as what occurred in the Gulf War of 1991. During the Gulf War of 1991, my colleague, George Lewis, and I did a very advanced study of videos that were taken by the press at that time of Patriots and Scuds. Scud is a difficult target to engage for reasons that are somewhat different from the Iranian targets. In fact, the Iranian targets are much more difficult to engage. And the Patriot only had the PAC-2 interceptor. I'll describe the difference between the PAC-2 and the PAC-3 interceptor. And the PAC-2 interceptor failed catastrophically. Now, just as is the case now, the Army Air Defense Artillery and the contractors, at that time was Raytheon, now it's Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, were together lying about the performance of Patriot in the Gulf War of 1991. In 1991, they were claiming, again, an over 90% intercept rate. And our study showed that the intercept rate was almost certainly zero. So they almost certainly did not intercept a single Scud warhead. This study we did was challenged by the contractor and the U.S. government and it was a tremendous confrontation where literally the contractor threatened my life. I mean, this was quite an experience for me, and so I can't say I have a lot of affection for Raytheon, and they tried to smear my colleague and me by claiming we had doctored videos. Anyway, we went through all these privations and were found to be absolutely correct. There was a paper published in 1996, 3 years after our primary paper, that was published by the American Physical Society. And the American Physical Society had a panel that looked into our analysis, and they found unequivocally that in fact, why don't we put on slide 2 and I'll read from it since I don't have. The American Physical Society found that it's down here in yellow. There is an absolute contradiction between the Army scores of Patriot performance, which was 96%, what they were claiming, during the Gulf War for all engagement, and the scores based on the video data. In other words, our video data analysis showed almost certainly 0% intercept rate, and the Army and Raytheon were claiming a 96% rate. We now have the same situation today, except we're talking about the PAC-3 interceptor, not the PAC-2. And if we look at the second principal finding in the abstract of that paper, of the American Physical Society paper, the videotapes contain important information about Patriot performance in the Gulf War, and the Army should have made use of the video information in its studies of Patriot performance. So I am now reasserting that the data I will be showing you, videos, has important information that shows that the system is performing at a 2 or 3% intercept rate. But now it's in the Gulf War of 2026, not the Gulf War of 1991. And now it refers to the Patriot PAC-3, the modernized interceptor, not the Patriot PAC-2, the interceptor in the Gulf War of 1991. Now, if we go to slide 4, I want to show the audience a series of video frames taken that will be shown in the video itself. The videos I'll be showing themselves that indicate how the audience can determine that an actual intercept of an Iranian ballistic missile had occurred. The ballistic missile target number 1 is actually not even shown in the inset number 1. It's too dim to be seen. And what happened what you see in the inset number 2 is the result of an intercept by a Patriot PAC-3, the more modern version of the Patriot interceptor. What you see, you don't see any evidence of the Patriot PAC-3 interceptor, but what you see is the impact of the Patriot PAC-3 on the nose of an Iranian ballistic missile, and you see the detonation of the Iranian ballistic missile's warhead. And since the warhead contains a high explosive, it creates a tremendous flash of light, and we will see this in the videos. This tremendous flash of light is due to the fact that the high explosives in the warhead reach for a very short interval of time, 5,000 degrees Kelvin. And the temperature at the surface of the sun is 6,000 degrees Kelvin. And 5,000 degrees Kelvin is enough temperature to fill the video screen with light that is not only directly illuminating, radiating from the explosive warhead, but also light that's scattered. You have this very very, very intense detonation. The light comes out and it gets scattered forward into the camera, and it overwhelms the pixels, and so illuminates, the whole video frame. In a few frames later, actually one frame later, in the inset number 3, everything gets much dimmer and you see a much smaller fireball. It's actually about the same size as what you saw in video frame 2, but it's not nearly so bright. And it's kind of reddish because it's cooler. It's much cooler in temperature, maybe 2,000, 3,000 degrees Kelvin. And so the amount of light being emitted is much lower. And so the scattered light surrounding the fireball is much less intense. And so it doesn't completely overwhelm the pixels outside the silhouette of the fireball. If you look at the video frame shown in inset 4, you can see the fireball looks slightly larger. That is not an illusion. What you are actually seeing is when the fireball first detonates, the light's so intense it overwhelms all the pixels. As it cools, we begin to see the outline of the hot gases from the explosion, which are mixed with solid oxide particles, because the explosion creates a lot of little particles.